Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back. Thank you so much for your patience. You probably noticed I haven't been doing a whole lot of uploading of videos the past week or so. I've just been really busy, had a lot of things going on, busy with my band, busy with my girlfriend. Work has been insane, and it's just been hard for me to make a lot of regular update videos, which is always a shame. I like trying to make as many throughout any given week as possible, but sometimes life gets in the way. That being said, because it's the weekend and I have some time, I figured I would do what I had a chance to do last week and do a sort of weekend review, per se. Kind of put a couple news stories together. I really enjoyed doing that, like I said, and a lot of people actually seem to really like that. I don't anticipate, excuse me, I don't anticipate making this still a regular format. It just kind of happened to work last weekend and it happens to work this weekend. But typically, I'm still going to do my regular updates where it's usually just one news story in one video. That being said, I have a couple of interesting things that I did want to talk about to you guys today. Nothing huge, but some pretty interesting pieces of news. The first one I find really interesting because it has to do with Call of Duty. You probably heard that the last-gen versions of Call of Duty were recently announced to not have a single-player campaign. So the single-player campaign created for Black Ops 3 is not going to be available in the Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 versions of the game. There's also some sort of linkage to like the esports kind of network or something that is also not available there. I'm not quite familiar with what that means, but I do know that obviously Call of Duty is very huge in the esports circuit, and I guess there was some sort of feature that was directly connected to that on the 8th gen and PC version of Black Ops 3. Whatever that is, it's also removed from the 7th gen version of the game. So, you know, we're seeing a huge sign with what has been the hugest franchise the last couple of years in gaming, sort of signifying more than ever the slow death of the 7th gen consoles, which I get that in its own way is very sad. I mean, the 360, PS3, and of course the Wii were fantastic systems, all of them. And it's been an amazing, remarkable achievement. Excuse me. Amazing achievement what the 360 and PS3 specifically have done, because they're still getting games today. We are 3 years into the Wii U's life and 2 years into the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One's life, so we're in that 2 to 3 year life, 2 to 3 year mark into this 8th generation, and those systems are still getting some really high profile games. You know, Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed, Madden, those games are still getting releases on the 7th gen systems, and that's pretty incredible. It's definitely a testament to those systems and their lifespan and people's loyalty to them. But, man, as great as they were and even still are, it's time to let them go. You know, we need to progress forward. The 8th generation is slowly moving along. There's been some amazing games for all three platforms, and it's time for people to just start dedicating to them. And when you look at Call of Duty being one of the last kind of connecting threads between the 7th generation and the 8th generation of the hugest franchise in the industry still releasing simultaneously this gen and last gen systems, it's huge to see it finally sort of breaking that connection in a way. They're not completely, you know, removing the 7th gen from their platforms of choice, but the fact that they're gimping them a little bit, if you want to call it that, or removing a main feature from the last generation version's game is pretty huge. Now, what they're doing is, again, removing that, removing the single-player campaign, removing the esports connection, whatever that is, and they are giving you a free download code for the first Black Ops game as well, and they're only selling the game for $49.99, so it's a $10 price cut. It's only a $50 game, which is nice, all things considered. No single-player campaign, because I think they really understand that most people probably only play Call of Duty for the multiplayer, and I get that, myself included. I do play through every campaign, but really I buy it and I play it long-term for the multiplayer. So they're trying to save money and just give people the biggest bang for the buck and give people what they think they mostly want. So I guess that's cool. I bet that I really don't see these versions selling very well. I think that a combination of the fact that most people are finally picking up the new systems and the fact that people will probably be pretty upset, even if they have no intention of playing the campaign, just the mere idea that it's going to be half-assed and gimped, I think is going to rub people the wrong way. I mean, it kind of rubs me the wrong way. I don't like that. It's kind of laziness. I think it's showing that they really just didn't want to take the time and effort and spend the money to make the campaign for the last generation version. But at the same time, if that's true, then don't even freaking release it on the last generation. It just shows that they're really being money hungry here. Like, we really want to keep making money off you PS3 and 360 players, but we don't want to put any money or invest any time or energy into getting that money back. So how about we just shit out something and we half-ass it, we'll save you $10, and then obviously we'll still make all this great, glorious money. And I mean, I get that. I say this all the time. Every company and video game developer is out there to make money, so you can't really fault them for that, but I don't think that this is the best way to do it. This is a little shady to me, but it's interesting to say the least. You know, I'm a huge Call of Duty fan, and so I'm curious as to what you guys, Call of Duty fans and non-Call of Duty fans alike, think about this. It's a pretty big sign to what's happening with the 7th generation, and I mean, it has to, I feel like all signs point to next year they won't even make a 7th gen version, unless Black Ops 3 really sells fantastically on the 360 and PS3 still, then I would imagine they would do the same thing again, but I don't think it will. I'm willing to bet this will be the last Call of Duty released on those platforms, so pretty interesting. Very curious as to what you guys think. You know, it all remains to be seen, so we'll see how that plays out. The next piece of news that I thought was pretty huge is Mighty Number 9. What a controversial kind of shindig that whole thing has been. And for like the third time, I think it's gotten a new release date. It was recently supposed to launch this month, actually, in September this year, 2015. And sometime like in the summer, like June or July or something, it was announced by Inafune that the game is going to be delayed again, like 2 or 3 months before the game was finally going to come out after almost 2 years of people funding this freaking game. You know, what seems like a pretty straightforward game to make overall. And then, you thought it was going to come out in September, but never mind. We're delaying it again to 2016, and we'll give you more details later. Really made a lot of people angry, especially people who have been funding that game, because that game was notorious for a massively successful Kickstarter funding campaign. And those people, I haven't funded it. I am gonna buy the game, but I haven't funded it. People who have funded it absolutely deserve to have been playing that game already. I mean, this is ridiculous what's happened with Mighty Number 9. That being said, it should be out right now. We should all be playing this game, and we're not playing it. However, it is going to be releasing February 9th, 2016. So that's like 5 months away. It's nice to get a release date. It's good to know that it's super early in the year, 2016. I was worried that early 2016 meant like April or May. And it doesn't. It's February 9th. So at least, you know, within a month after New Year, we're going to have this game to play. And that's pretty cool. But man, it's just been such a rocky road for this game. And, you know, a lot of people have talked about it. I made a video about it when it got delayed back over the summer. And, I think it's just really unfair. And I think that it just is a curious case because, again, the game looks great, and I don't want to downplay how great it looks and how much time and energy it probably takes to really make this game. But it's only a side-scroller shooter, man. It's just like a Mega Man game with, like, much newer visuals. I don't understand how this game could be so hard to make, especially when it's coming from the man, Keiji Inafune, who's been making video games for so long. This isn't a new thing to him. So unless he literally has himself, 2 guys, and a monkey in a basement making this game, I don't understand how it's been so hard to complete this game, make it bug-free, give all the features it's supposed to have, and just fucking release it. It makes no real sense to me, but I don't know. I'm not that picky. I'm stoked to play the game. I think it looks great. I think it's going to be great, but I haven't been, like, hanging my hat on it as this game that's going to, like, really take up all my time and that's going to really define the indie generation of gaming. It just looks like a great game that I'll play when it's available. I am not chomping at the bit for this game. So for me, it's like, well, this whole thing has been really stupid, and I think it sucks. I don't really care. But what I do think is it's been very unfair to the people who, like I said, have been funding this game from the get-go, helped this game shatter Kickstarter record campaigns at the time, and make this game so crazy funded that it easily should have been done already. I mean, there's been so much money thrown at this game. There should have been a very sizable team putting in a lot of features, working really diligently to make this game release on time. So, you know, we don't know what's happened here, but it doesn't really matter. Hopefully this date sticks. This would be like, I think this is like the 3rd tentative date that we've been given. I feel like this is going to be real, you guys. So with any luck, we can cross our fingers and say, oh, February 9th will finally be the real day that we can all play Mighty Number 9. So that remains to be seen. Moving on to the next story. This is a weird one. This one probably deserves its own video, but I didn't really, like I said, I don't really have the time. I don't really want to make my own video on this. I just figured I'd include it here. So there was a recent interview that Miyamoto and some other fellow whose name I can't remember from Nintendo had with MTV, of all places, which I thought was pretty cool. I can probably find Tezuka. I don't know who Tezuka is. I'm sorry, guys. I should know as a Nintendo fan, but I don't. So Miyamoto and Tezuka were having an interview with MTV, and it was discussed the ideas of live action films or TV series and stuff for their characters. Obviously, with the last year's rumor of the live action Zelda show for Netflix, or was that this year? I think that was this year actually, and that didn't turn out to be true. But they were talking about it, and so just for fun, not because these are real projects, but just for fun, Miyamoto and Tezuka were talking about who could play who, and they bring up the idea. I think it was Tezuka brought up the idea of a female playing Link in a live action movie or TV show. And a lot of people were jumping all over this, and it was a pretty big story for like a day or two. Nothing huge, but a lot of people were talking about it. It was an interesting sort of quote and piece of news, and it was an interesting idea. And I thought about this, and I have to say that I hate the idea. I think that it's a ridiculous idea. It to me shows that Nintendo, they're a very Japanese company, and in Japan, that is very common. A lot of characters on cartoon shows that are male are voiced by females, and a lot of actors, both on stage and in film that are male, are played by females. And that's fine. I have no problem with that. The thing is, it's part of the Japanese culture, and it works for them. But when you would make something like a Zelda movie, for example, for a large audience, I don't think that you can really take that same kind of very specifically Japanese fundamental and apply it to something that really is going to be huge in the West and in the UK and in the rest of the world, where no one's really going to understand or gravitate towards that concept. I don't want it to sound like a sexist thing. To me, I don't think it's sexist. To me, it's like, well, the character is a male, so a male should play that character. Just like I don't think Zelda should be played by a man. It's the exact same thing to me. Now, there is a different scenario going on here, though, that I think would change my whole approach to this. Yes, I think that it's too Japanese way of a thinking to say, oh, Link should be played by a woman in a Zelda movie. That would work if it was like a Japanese-only released sort of film or only meant to be a Japanese film for a Japanese audience. Totally different. If they'd make it large scale for the world and for the US and stuff, no, you don't want to do that. That's not okay. Now, here's where things get different, though, is I only don't like the idea if it's a male Link that they would cast a female for. In the gaming space, a lot of people have talked about for a while, maybe we should have a game where Link is a female, where we do a whole retcon of a Zelda universe for a brand new Zelda game and a really kooky experiment and make Link a female. Or what has been my personal favorite idea, make a game where you can choose if Link is a male or female. That would be, to me, that's the most ideal way to do it. And in the gaming space, I support a really excellently made Zelda game where Link is a female or Link could be chosen as male or female. Totally down with that. So when you take that idea and you apply it to a film, then you have the whole different concept of, well, if the Link is supposed to be a female, then yes, a female should play Link. The only thing I don't like is if a Zelda movie or TV show would be made, and if it's made to have a worldwide audience and made to be released in the West, no, a woman shouldn't play a male Link. And I don't think that that's wrong. We live in this crazy sensitive world now, especially on the internet and especially in gaming, about sexism and all these different things. And the Gamergate and Anita Sarkeesian and all these hot button topics when it comes to gender and respectability and sexism and stuff in gaming. And I get it. And trust me, I support the right kind of feminism, and I do not support sexism in any way. And I don't think that what I'm saying here broaches this topic. A male should be played by a male. I feel like that's a pretty straightforward thing to say. A female should be played by a female. Now, again, if you're creating a story from the ground up, it's different. So I guess I should say a traditionally male character like Link should be played by a male. There's no reason to take a female and make that person play Link for what is supposed to be a worldwide released audience. But I don't know. Anyway, I guess I'm kind of getting a little long in the tooth and pretty deep into a hot button topic. But long story short, it's a curious idea. For an experiment, I like the idea. And again, in the gaming space, I don't really mind what they do with Link, provided the game around that Link is just made great like every Zelda game has been. I think that would be knocked out of the park. I think it's definitely time for a little bit of playing with that aspect and formula of Zelda. I don't really want Link to change into a female character, but I do think that there's absolutely a world where that could and should happen. And I think that a lot of people should have the ability and opportunity to play any character they love however they might want to play it. I come from, maybe this is like the older school gamer in me. I come from the idea of like, you create the character, game developer, everything about that character, from the look, the abilities, the speech, the dialogue, the gender, the clothes. You create the character, and I'll play the character you create. I want you to tell me the story. I'm not as big on the stories that I create. Yes, I love things like Mass Effect and Dragon Age, and recently Until Dawn, where you're choosing how the story plays out. But I don't really want... I want to play the character that I'm supposed to play. Like in Mass Effect, I don't even change my Shepard. I only want to play the male Shepard, and I'm only going to play the default male Shepard, because that's the one that's on the marketing. That's the Shepard that BioWare had in mind when they created the game, and it's fantastic. They give people the ability to change the look and gender and race of your I think the race of your Shepard. That's fine by me, but the one that I want to play is the one BioWare had in mind. The Link that I want to play is the Link that Nintendo has in mind, and any other game character in any other game. I don't really care about making my own characters in most games. I just want to play the story that's being created by the developer. That's the vision that I care about. I don't want my own vision. I want your vision. Same with movies. Same with something like Star Wars, my favorite thing in the world. I don't want my vision of Star Wars. I want the creator's vision. I've always liked George Lucas's vision. He's the one who's told us the Star Wars story. You tell me Star Wars. Don't tell me my Star Wars. Tell me your Star Wars. That's the one that I've fallen in love with. Same with freaking anything. You can apply this to anything in the storytelling world. So... anyway, this did kind of become like a long aspect of this piece of news, but it's an interesting topic, and it was a weird thing to hear them talk about, was a female playing Link, but, you know, I guess it doesn't really matter, because we probably will regrettably never really see this happen anyway. We could be lucky, maybe it will, but as far as how it plays out in the gaming space, I don't know, maybe we'll see a female Link at some point. I actually think that will happen eventually, to tell you the truth, and if I had to put money down on it, it's not super likely, but I think it's likely enough that I would wager at some point we may see a female Link. Whether it's a game where you are only playing as a female Link, or a game where you can select a male or female Link, like I said. And I would like that, because I would just play the initial male Link through my first playthrough, and then like to go back and play as the female Link and see what that's like and how different the game may be. So, you know, anyway, that was a long story, but that's kind of how I feel about all that. Definitely share your thoughts below on that. I know that there could be a lot of opinions back and forth there. So the last thing that I wanted to talk about is also another Nintendo-related news, and this is pretty interesting. So we all know that Super Mario Maker recently released, and it released to fantastic reviews. It released to great sales, as per usual, for a Nintendo game, and it's been a really big deal. People are playing it like crazy. It's a freaking awesome game. Like, I have some issues with it, I'm not gonna lie, but it's more with the gamers and how they create levels than it is with Mario Maker itself, because Mario Maker, as a tool and as a game to play and interact with, is freaking awesome. It's almost perfect. But regardless of that, Mario Maker's great. It's doing very well. And in that, some analysts for Fortune magazine got together, and they were discussing the Wii U, and they were discussing Mario Maker and the ad campaign for it. And it's interesting because they talk about how excellent Mario Maker is. They're praising Nintendo for this game, and they're also praising Nintendo for the marketing of this game, and it's helped this game be very successful, which... If you look at Nintendo's history with marketing, obviously they haven't been great with the Wii U in terms of marketing and sales, but their software, even going back generations, but even if you look at this 8th generation in the Wii U, their marketing for their games has been the best example of marketing of any company within the industry, because they are taking their games, their Super Smash Brothers, their Mario Karts, their Mario Maker, their Splatoon, all these games, and on a system that unfortunately has not been selling very well, they are making those games crazy popular, crazy successful. They are selling so unbelievably well on a system with only a 10 million install base. That's insane how well they've been able to get their games to sell, and it's because A, they're fantastic games. Nintendo just makes the best games when they really put forth effort, and B, it's because the marketing has just been perfect. They know how to sell their games to any audience, and people attach themselves to it. And it's great, because their games deserve the success that they're seeing, as does Nintendo deserve that success and the money that they get from that. But what they say in this analyst sort of projection here, where these couple of people got together, is yes, Nintendo made a great game, and yes, Nintendo had fantastic marketing, but nothing can save the Wii U. At this point, the Wii U is dead in the water. Nothing will propel it past the Xbox One or the PlayStation 4. And it doesn't really matter that Nintendo's doing so well with the marketing and with making games like Mario Maker and Splatoon and so forth. So, I don't know. I just sort of wanted to bring that up and comment on it very quickly. What sucks is it's true. I think that's why I wanted to talk about it. And a lot of us probably know that this is true. The Wii U, man, is my favorite system. A lot of people, a lot of you guys I know are huge Nintendo fans and huge Wii U fans, as you should be. It's an awesome system with an awesome controller, and a lot of the promises of the Wii U weren't delivered on, and Nintendo made a lot of really boneheaded mistakes in the first year of the system, and that's really too bad, and they didn't succeed in getting third parties on board like they tried to and like they promised, and those things hurt the system. And so now the system is unfortunately going to be, in the end of the day, when we look back on it in future generations, it will be seen as a failure in terms of its success and its marketing, and that sucks. It will definitely not sell more than 20 million units, and it is never going to be able to surpass even the Xbox One and ever take second place again now that it lost it last year when the Xbox One finally had surpassed it. And, that's okay. At this point, that's old news, and that's fine. But I thought it was interesting that, still some very educated people can get together and look at all of the great things that Nintendo does and talk about the success they are seeing. Remember, when a game like this, Super Mario Maker, sells so well for Nintendo, the difference between how Nintendo has their business model and how other companies have their business model is they're making 100% of the available profit. They don't have to split that profit with anyone else. They don't have to split it with Electronic Arts or Ubisoft or BioWare or any other company that you might think of. It's all Nintendo, baby. This is in-house. So they sell crazy amounts of copies of Super Mario Maker and Splatoon and Smash Brothers, and that all the extra money that isn't divvied out to the employees and to the retailers for actually selling these copies, it's all Nintendo's. Their margin of profit is like so much larger than all the third-party companies, and like what Sony or Microsoft makes off of games like Destiny and Madden and things like that, or Grand Theft Auto. They make very little on those games compared to what Nintendo makes on their games. So it's how Nintendo stays profitable, and it's how they run a smart business, even when they have a system that isn't really doing that well. And, of course, the 3DS being successful. So, nothing can save the Wii U. Is that true? Yes, I think that's true. All the signs are pointing to the NX. All the signs are pointing to the Wii U's going away. 2016 does have a couple of interesting things happen. We know Pokken Tournament's coming out. We know Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem's coming out. The Project Treasure, Lost Reavers. What was the other big one? Star Fox just got delayed, of course. So Star Fox is for the Wii U next year. That's huge. Pikmin 4 just announced. We still don't know what's going to happen with that. Will that be a Wii U game or an NX game? Zelda Wii U, will that really stick to Wii U? I'm sure we're still going to get some version of that game on the Wii U. So there are games to look forward to soon on the system that will help it continue to sell a little bit. But, I think we know that there's no big surprises. The Wii U is, if anything, definitely not going to be supported into 2017. And it's too bad, because I love the damn thing. But you know what? Nintendo shot themselves in the foot. They tried real hard to come back after making early mistakes, but sometimes you just can't repair the damage that's been done. So at least they've released an amazing library of games. Like you've heard me say, my Wii U library is stacked to the brim with amazing AAA quality exclusive content. It dwarfs my Xbox One and PS4 library. Even combined, it dwarfs them. And that's pretty awesome. So, great games aside, you can't save the Wii U. That's okay. We know the NX is right around the corner next year. Hopefully that thing really delivers like we want it to and creates an exciting future for Nintendo. I think it will. I was really nervous about it for so long because I thought we had NX news far too early in the Wii U's life cycle. But now that I understand Nintendo's going to be dropping the Wii U sooner than expected, it all makes sense. So I'm ready for the NX to come, and I'm ready for it to hopefully be awesome. I believe in Nintendo. I believe in you guys, so please don't let us down, Nintendo. Make it right. But until then, I'm going to continue to love and support my Wii U. There's like 4 more huge games I'm going to be playing for the Wii U this year, including Mario Maker right now. And man, with Star Fox next year, forget about it. I'm so pumped. Like, me and Star Fox. I am just like drooling to have that game. And knowing that it's still ahead of me sometime in 2016, Q1, totally cool with that. But I don't know, that's it. So I guess I'll wrap up this kind of week in review, news sort of collaboration video today. So tell me what you guys think about all these stories. A lot of cool things going on. Call of Duty 7th Gen being gimped. Mighty Number 9 gets a release date. A female Link, whatever that whole thing's about. And nothing can save the Wii U, sort of speak there. What do you guys think about all that stuff? Again, really fun to do the weekend reviews. I like talking about a bunch of news stories on one video. So you know, I mean, continue to let me know if you guys do like this format or not. I kind of am going to go back to still making just singular videos, but I do like doing this. I enjoyed it last weekend. I'm really enjoying it today as well for you guys. So let me know, you know, some Nintendo stories, some non-Nintendo stories. A lot going on this week. What do you guys think? Thank you again, as always, for tuning in and watching, guys. I super appreciate it. This is Rob of Rule 2 Review, and I'll catch you guys next time on another video.